Alright, you guys. So in the battle for the La Liga title race, it's currently advantage Barcelona. Can Real Madrid follow suit? We will be discussing this and more in this episode of the Just Max Show. But if you haven't seen my face before, and if you don't know me, or you've been watching my videos and you haven't yet subscribed, hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Just Max, and on this channel I discuss everything football, from La Liga to the Prem to the UCL. And today we will be continuing our coverage of the 2024-2025 La Liga title race, because it is getting serious. There are only 7 games left, or in Barcelona's case right now, 6 games left to the end of the La Liga season. So as much as we hate to say it, every game counts. There is no room for errors. And I'm sure that this was the message that Hansi Flick communicated to the boys ahead of the game between Leganés. Hansi Flick fielded a team that consisted of Jorge Sáenz in goal, Alejandro Balde in left back, Inigo Martinez in the centre back position, pairing today with Araujo and then Jules Koundé. And I think that Araujo came into this game because we needed some sort of physicality. And of course, there was that view of the UEFA Champions League game against Dortmund coming up. So Pau Kubasi was rested on this occasion. Pedri came into the midfield as always, holding that pivot position. Eric Garcia was going to link with him in that double pivot position. Fermin Lopez rather than that midfield diamond for Barcelona. We did have Rafinha on his regular right wing and Lamine Yamal on the left, and Robert Lewandowski led the line for Barcelona. And honestly, from the beginning, from the get-go, I knew that this game was always going to be difficult. I knew that it was not going to be an easy game. Reason being, Leganés are a team that likes to play the low block kind of football. They're very good in absorbing pressure and releasing pressure and hitting you on the counter attack. They barely let in any chances whatsoever, and if you snooze, you lose around them. The reason why we know this is because when we played them in around, I want to say November, December of last year, I can't remember to be precise, Barcelona was beaten by Leganés at the Montjuic. It was around the 5th minute when they had come to the Montjuic, and they scored a very good goal through their captain, and then entered a very claustrophobic low block, and we were not able to break them despite everything that we threw against them. So this game, we had to enter it with so much caution. I do have to give credit to the boys though. They have successfully done a remontada against every team that has now taken points off them in the first half of the season. Leganés, I believe, were the outstanding team, and today they have just won 1-0. And so we have to dive deep into what we saw in this match. This was not Barcelona's best performance by any means necessary. If anything, this was a shameful performance in my humble estimation. But these are the kind of performances that win you titles. If you ask me, these are the kind of games that when everything is not happening well for you, when you're not able to play the beautiful football, or when you are playing the beautiful football but the end result is not as crisp or as nice as you would like it to be, how can you pull it out of the heart like a magician? You know, Barcelona were playing some good football today in terms of like moving the ball and advancing it, but that final ball was just not there. They were really able to challenge Leganés enough to make the keeper actually test his worth. That's something that I have to give Leganés very good kudos, because they're a very good defensive team. When they last played Barcelona, I gave them kudos for how much of a defensive masterclass they put together in that game, and this game was no different. They put together the same defensive masterclass, in the sense that in the wide areas they were quite comfortable in allowing Barcelona to, you know, hold the ball, but immediately you start to get into those danger zones, Barcelona's attack started to crumble real quick, because they were very good in putting bodies on the line and making sure that nothing of note came of those attacks. By contrast to Leganés had some very fruitful opportunities themselves. I think that if we're being honest, Leganés should have won this game. There was opportunities in that first half that, you know, Szczesny had to come up big for Barcelona, you know, stopping point blank short, breaking that Barcelona's high line or the Barcelona defensive line on multiple occasions, and just running at that Barcelona defense. If this was a team with much better quality, let's say the quality of a Kylian Mbappé, for example, I have no doubt that Barcelona today would have conceded, you know, a few goals. So to be able to come away with this clean sheet, it's it's a thing. It's what it is. So I'm not going to lie at you and say this was a very good performance for Barcelona. No. But this was the performance that wins you trophies. Like as a fan club this season, Hansi Flick and the boys, they've spoiled us so much that we've been used to seeing games where Barcelona win 5-0, 4-0, 6-0, 7-0. Is that we've become so desensitized to the times when we used to win 1-0 and be very happy with it. I am so happy with this 1-0 win because we needed all 3 points, especially after we dropped points to Real Betis last week. We needed to win and put pressure on Real Madrid ahead of the game against Deportivo Alavés. So the fact that we've been able to take this win, yes, the goal was an own goal, but you only have to do your job, right? We did the job, we got it right. We are leaving Butake with 3 points, and honestly, I'm so proud of this team. In terms of the statistics, like I mentioned, Barcelona did have like a lot of possession in the wider areas, and there was something that I was noticing during this match. The Leganés, they did their scouting very well, because of the lack of my boy Pau Kubasi in the defense and Araujo replacing him. So one thing we have to learn about Araujo is for whatever we gained for Araujo's physicality, we did lose it in technique. So I did notice that Leganés are quite comfortable with Araujo holding the ball because he's not trying to do anything creative with it. He's very conservative. He's always going to pass back, so it doesn't add anything to Barcelona's attack. So one of the ways in which Leganés were able to stop Barcelona today, especially in breaking down that Barcelona attack, was preventing the ball from getting over to Pedri and to Eric Garcia, which of course stunted Barcelona's attack in the dangerous positions. I thought that this match deserved a Frenkie de Jong when we were at halftime and Barcelona wasn't playing their best football. And I am so glad that of late, Hansi Flick and I have been on the same wavelength, because at halftime, Frenkie de Jong comes up. He is immediately an impact. One of the things that I love about Frenkie de Jong is his ability to drive the ball forward. He's wonderful in that area, and his leadership in that double pivot position was just something that I really wanted to touch on today. So for me, Frenkie de Jong was a standout player in today's match for Barcelona. But the main standout player for Barcelona and the man of the match, the reason why we're able to come away with 3 points right now, is Szczesny, because Szczesny had to really come up big. And I need to take a moment to say there was a moment when I said I did not ever want to see Szczesny in Barcelona's backline, and I have to eat my words, because of late Szczesny has just been showing us why he is still that guy. Like, to think that a few months ago he was in retirement and then had to come out of retirement to play for Barcelona, and today he put in this kind of performance. Now here's why I'm impressed by Szczesny. Not only was he able to be a shot stopper in this game, but he was also attuned to when he needed to come off his line. Like, one of the things that I had issues with him prior to now was his super keeper decision making. He just never seemed comfortable coming off his line, or whenever he wanted to make those runs, he just didn't know how to time them. But I would now attribute that to be rust, because today he was so dialed into the game that every time he came off his line to clear the ball, he was essentially another defender for Barcelona when the high line pushed up. So he kept that thing together, and he prevented most of Leganés' attack from moving forward. So I want to give, like, man of the match is Szczesny. He did that thing today, sir, and you are amazing. Honestly, I have a question for everybody right now. Let me know in the comment section if you think that if Marc-Andre ter Stegen is to come back for Barcelona, would he still be your first choice goalkeeper, given the way that Szczesny is playing? And I know that next season we're going to have some uncomfortable conversations about who is Barcelona first choice goalkeeper. Marc-Andre ter Stegen will think that he's still his position, but given the season that that Szczesny has had and the impact that his stature seems to have on the team, I think that there is room for a debate. But I'll leave that to you to decide. Is Marc-Andre ter Stegen your first choice goalkeeper for Barcelona, or would you love to continue playing Szczesny in that role? And the final player I want to spotlight in this match review for Barcelona is Inigo Martinez. Now, I love me some Inigo Martinez. I'm so sad that, he's only now coming to play for Barcelona. Inigo Martinez has wanted to be a Barcelona player for over 10 years. due to different circumstances, he was not able to fulfill that dream, or Barcelona were not able to bring him in. But better late than never, because he's really having a season of his own. This is his time to shine for Barcelona. I love Inigo Martinez, the way he is, without a doubt, the leader of that defense. Amazing stuff. Remember when we were sitting on a 1-0 slender lead, Leganés had some very potent attacking moment. There was that one time when the goalkeeper did a little sweeper keeper moment of his own, put that cross ahead, and it landed very beautifully for the Leganés player in between the Barcelona defense, and he was literally running on goal to Szczesny. One-on-one opportunity. Inigo Martinez timed that tackle to perfection, and I believe that that tackle is the reason why Barcelona is able to come away from this game with all 3 points. Because imagine if that player had scored that goal very late on in the game, we will not be talking about a three-point play. We will be talking about a situation where Barcelona have now dropped points and will have to rely on Real Madrid losing tomorrow. So Inigo Martinez really came up big at different moments, at different instances. He was involved in many of the things that happened well for Barcelona today. Many of them did not translate into a goal today because of one thing or the other, but he was magnificent. Alright, you guys, so at the start of this video, I asked if Real Madrid could answer Barcelona's challenge and win against Deportivo Alavés. I am glad to mention that they have answered that challenge, and they've come away 1-0 winners against Deportivo Alavés. And we need to talk about how this all went down, because Carlo Ancelotti fielded a team that consisted of Thibaut Courtois. Thibaut Courtois is returning to go for Real Madrid after a prolonged absence due to injury. And if you remember very correctly, Real Madrid's goalkeeping position has been going through a bit of crisis after second choice goalkeeper Andre Lunin also picked up an injury, and they had to dig deep into the academy to find a player who could hold down that position for a bit. So to have Thibaut Courtois back in goal for Real Madrid was big. And then we have Garcia in the left back position. Antonio Rudiger and Raul Asensio made up that centre back. Pairing and Lucas Vázquez was Carlo Ancelotti's preferred right back. Why? I don't know, but he has been the preferred right back all season, and he was for this one as well. Tchouaméni was the holding midfielder for Real Madrid, and then we had a line that consisted of Rodrigo, Camavinga, Federico Valverde, Arda Güler, and Kylian Mbappé for Real Madrid's attack. There's some players that were obviously missing from the starting lineup, like Vinicius and of course Jude Bellingham, who are regular starters for Real Madrid. But you have to consider that Real Madrid do have a game against Arsenal in midweek that they must win if they hope to advance to the UEFA Champions League. And not just that they must win it, but they must win it by 4 goals unanswered to be able to go to the UEFA Champions League semi-final. So of course this was a very changed starting 11 for Real Madrid with that game in mind. And going into this match, my immediate thoughts were this team did not understand the assignment. They did not come to play. It was a very shameful display. There was a very disgraceful performance from Real Madrid. They didn't seem to have the confidence. I think that the fact that they have not been able to pick up wins in La Liga in, I want to say, 2 to 3 games now, has just really hampered their confidence. They did not look like themselves. They didn't know what they were supposed to be doing in that first half whatsoever. And I would say for much of the second half as well, they were just running like headless chickens. However, at the end of the day, who scores the goal is who gets 3 points. And at the end of today's game, Real Madrid have scored the goals and they have gotten the 3 points. And the goal came from a moment of individual brilliance by Camavinga. Now, do I think that Camavinga will be able to replicate this tomorrow? I do not. But sometimes when you're chasing titles, these are the kind of moments that, you know, helps you stay alive or helps you keep pushing or helps you keep fighting. Because he takes the ball, you know, a very long range shot from the edge of the box, and it was very well taken. And this of course was after Real Madrid had a disallowed goal in the first half because of a foul by Rudiger on the goalkeeper. So to answer very quickly to that disallowed goal and to go up ahead was very good for Real Madrid in my opinion, because they were under pressure from Deportivo Alavés. Deportivo Alavés was pressing them so high that Real Madrid could not get the ball out of the keeper. Like they were so pressed in that they had to resort to long ball out of Thibaut Courtois, because they just couldn't play their way out of the back. And whenever they tried to do that, they ended up losing the ball to a Deportivo Alavés player. So this is how much it was choked. So they really needed that goal, and it came at the right moment, at the right time for them. From Deportivo Alavés, I would say to them, like, they did not take their chances. They did not have the right level of qualities. I think this is what separates teams like Barcelona and Real Madrid from the rest. Like I said yesterday in the game versus Leganés, Barcelona did not have the great performance. Leganés, shut them down so hard. In this game versus Deportivo Alavés, Real Madrid did not have a modicum of sense in this game. I would say that Deportivo Alavés had the better construction of play. They just didn't have the quality to finish it, which is very shameful in the end of the day, because for all the things that they did in terms of walking the ball, in terms of pressing the ball, in terms of advancing the ball into the opponent's half, they just seem to lack that finishing ball or the finishing pass just to get it all set up and ready to go. Now in this match, there was that moment of controversy in the first half when Kylian Mbappé was shown a red card. Now let's talk about that a bit in depth. I watched that replay a few times and I was beside myself with what I saw from a potential Ballon d'Or contender. I was beside myself with what I saw from a superstar of the caliber of Kylian Mbappé. That tackle was so very unnecessary. That tackle it was a reflection of what the Real Madrid players were feeling in that moment, which was frustration. They could not do anything of note in this match. Kylian Mbappé, before then, he had not contributed anything of note, and that was his one contribution, which is getting himself sent off. Was it a red card? Absolutely it was. It was such a tackle that it had no intention of getting the ball. He was looking at the players. I felt that there was a bit of a hesitation. Maybe there was a moment there where he was like, maybe I shouldn't. And then his intrusive thoughts maybe went for it, allegedly, I don't know. But it just was so bad looking at it on all fronts. He should have never made that tackle. That tackle could have been a career-ending moment for the player, and rightfully so, it was a red card for him. No arguments there. But from a Real Madrid perspective, it was the most stupid decision a person could ever make. Your team needs you to absolutely secure this win so that we can focus on the game against Arsenal, which is a very important game in our season, especially as we are working towards coming back from a 3-goal deficit from what we saw against the North London side. And you go ahead and do this. The goal, I would have said, as I mentioned at the start, was maybe Ancelotti would have hoped to wrap this game up as quickly as possible so that he can be able to substitute the first team players. Therefore, they can be more fresh and more ready for Arsenal in the midweek. But with that red card, what did that do? It upsets the Real Madrid positioning on the field of play and puts more pressure on the players who are now on the pitch. So you are 10 men defending a whole entire pitch, and you are having to, against a Deportivo Alavés team that's actually playing really well, mind you. This could have been really costly for Real Madrid. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it did not matter because Real Madrid were able to hold out for the win. But what if it could have been costly? And now I feel, in my opinion, that this is in fact costly because they've had to run more, they've had to work harder, they did not get the rest that they probably wanted. Vinicius ended up having to come in, Bellingham ended up having to come in, more players ended up having to do extra bit of work, and these are the players that you want to stage a remontada against Arsenal in midweek. Make it make sense. And I guess in the second half was giving bar for bar, aura for aura, because Deportivo Alavés did end up getting a red card of their own. A similar kind of tackle from the Deportivo Alavés player, but the difference in this case is intent. The Deportivo Alavés player, in my estimation, was intending to play the ball, whereas Kylian Mbappé was going for the leg. But of course, it was a red card none the least. It was just a very weird game. It was not a very good game at all. The Deportivo Alavés player did get a red card, which balanced out the play for Real Madrid. And I thought in that moment, well, it was good because Deportivo Alavés were piling on the pressure on Real Madrid. And I looked at them and said, wow, we've come to the time and age where Real Madrid are playing in a low block against Deportivo Alavés. But that red card, it did give them a bit of a reprieve. It allowed them to now be able to come out, and play their kind of football. They did have good moments, but ultimately it wasn't very good enough. And 1-0 was how it ended at the end of the day. we will have to wait and see what this game, the implications of this game have on that Champions League game that I'm looking onto. I don't know the way. I don't like the way he ended in terms of like the red card situation. I'm sure when they get into the dressing room, Kylian Mbappé would be beside himself. The players around him will be very, very upset because you didn't have to do your teammate like this. You know, Deportivo Alavés, they did get a red card, but they don't have like European competition to worry about, so woe is me. And from my point of view, La Liga, I feel like this should be a 5-match ban for Kylian Mbappé. This is my opinion. I feel like the lack of intent and the aggressiveness of that tackle, the fact that it could have really done major damage, is an opportunity for you to set a precedent that this is not allowed. And so yeah, 5 games, you know, match ban is my recommendation, but we will be watching to see what La Liga thinks is the appropriate punishment in this situation for Kylian Mbappé. So that is it for me today for this match versus Real Madrid. It wasn't a very good match, but at the end of the day, 3 points is all that we care about. Real Madrid have it in the bag, and now we are looking forward to the Champions League. Let me know what you thought about these games, Real Madrid versus Deportivo Alavés, Barcelona versus Leganés. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'll see you next time. Bye guys.